Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on Turning a Moment into a Movement. I am J Love, and I represent the Justice for Gerard Movement. Gerard is my son who was wrongfully incarcerated for a crime that he didn't do, had no knowledge of, innocent, and he went to prison. And so, because of that journey with him and all the people that I met on that journey, mothers, loved ones, um, of who had family members that were incarcerated. Because of all of that, I created this platform called Turning a Moment into a Movement, where we come here on Fridays at 6 p.m. to discuss wrongful convictions, how they happen, how easy they can happen, how no one is exempt from a wrongful conviction. And we come and talk about that. We also talk about other things that's happening in our communities. And we come here to motivate, inspire, and educate. And so thank you for joining us. I want to say hello to all those who are watching on YouTube, on Twitter, and who may listen to this later or watch it later. Hello, and thank you for joining us. And I want to also say, if you want to keep up with us, like us on YouTube, subscribe, click the notification bell, and every time we come on or do something live, you'll be notified. So thank you for joining us. I want to put up our mission statement because that says everything. Here it is. Our mission is to bring awareness to the wrongful conviction of Gerard and all others who are wrongly convicted, over sentenced, mentally ill, medically frail in our communities, to inspire, organize, and educate all communities about the need to disrupt systems, policies, and patterns of the criminal legal system that leads to wrongful convictions. That's why we're here. And so thank you for joining us again. I'm going to bring on Reverend Tia. because I see she's here. Hi, Revatia.
Well, hello there. How are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm wonderful. I'm so excited to be here. And you know what? We are living in times where um it is about our beingness, Jay.
Yeah.
Who are we about? What are we about? And sharing that light and being that truth. And I'm telling you, I'm so grateful to you and for the how you have led us and led so many as we continue. And it's not a fight, it's just a realization of the justice that is supposed to already be ours. Yes,
Mhm.
we have it. And I want us to really begin to behold the fact that we already have it. We already are the truth and the justice that we are looking for. And we start with our families first. So, I mean, I'm doing this all the time with as the founder of the Choice Zone, whether I'm helping people individually or collectively, is to demonstrate the kingdom within, demonstrate who you are, and being able to be the maximize who you are. And I always say every day now, I am the highest version of myself already,
Mhm.
and and realize that every day. So I'm so glad to be here. You know, of course, with G100. If you're looking to join women from all over the world, G100 Michigan is looking for you. Get in touch with me. We're on Facebook, and also of course, my love, always transforming love community, our spiritual community. And am I missing one? I am missing one, and that's Michigan Coalition of Human Rights. And so I'm always at the forefront, collaborating with people so that we can realize justice on so many platforms. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you, Revatia. So I see Attorney Mack is here.
Yay, yay. I'm
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah. Let's bring him in. Hi, Attorney Mack.
Beautiful, beautiful black women. A pleasure to be with y'all again today. So it's a beautiful thing, beautiful thing. Well, all I can do is co-sign what my sister Reverend Tia said, here in the quest for justice, and want to explain some things about myself. Attorney Hugo J. Mack, Esquire. And as I always tell you, 40,000 members of my profession in the state of Michigan. I'm the only one coming to you tonight, not having parachuted down from heaven, but worked my way up from hell through Jesus Christ to be with you, you see. Uh, Fully restored through the precious blood of God in Jesus Christ. I know what it's like to pay a debt not owed. I know what it's like to have a penitentiary experience, but I also know what it's like to live day by day trusting God, God and only God. And so that's why I'm on this forum, always praising God. All good things come from God, and for me, through the person of Jesus Christ. So for me, in my career before my penitentiary experience, I was a public defender, chief assistant public defender in Washtenaw County. I made it my business to represent and protect, defend people who could not represent and protect themselves. And so that was my mission, and it continues to be my mission today. But even through great wrong and injustice, God can have greater good occur. And my scripture teaches me about a man named Joseph. That man's own people did him wrong. His own people did him wrong. Put that man into slavery, wanted that man killed. What's wrong with y'all? Y'all crazy? Yeah, okay. The man was a little bit self-confident, over self-confident. Okay, his daddy gave him that fancy coat. Yes, okay, so what? And so the man, thinking that I'm the youngest, normally the youngest is supposed to be the meekest, but he's the youngest, and he say, look, I'm kicking butt and taking names. All y'all gonna bow down before me. You know the story, Reverend Tia, and you, J Love, PK that you are, you know the story. So what I'm saying is, out of great injustice came great good, because the day came with vindication for Joseph, and he confronted them, people did him wrong. He said, you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good, that this day many people's lives may be saved. If it don't be for Joseph, there is no Israel. There is no Israel. So I say that to say that there's nothing new under the sun. What happened yesterday will happen today. There were Goliaths yesterday, there are Goliaths today. Goliath was killed by righteous people, and his brothers, by the way, were killed back in the day. And all of us here, people within the sound of my voice, our collective voices, we are giant killers today. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Because greater is he in us than he who's in the world. Yes, we are. So, I encourage people all the time and tell them, do not give up hope. Victory is just one heartbeat away. And to win, we don't have to stand forever. We need to stand 1 second more than our opponent. That's what we need to do. Stand 1 second more than our opponent. So be encouraged. A lot of my practices represent poor and indigent women. Unfortunately, a disproportionate percentage of them are women of color, which historically has been a problem in this nation. The Black woman is the most abused demographic in the history of the nation. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. So, I'm very sensitive to that, and we continue to fight for justice and fight for what's right. So I'm proud to be here, J Love, and that's what I have to say, except for, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. If you find yourself on Trouble Boulevard, push, pull, tow, drag that hoopity to Mack Street. Mack Street. Park your car in my virtual underground garage, and there call the Freedom Line, 734-239-3118. The Freedom Line, 734-239-3118. The Freedom Line, 734-239-3118. hmaclaw.com is your hookup. hmaclaw.com is your hookup. hmaclaw.com is your hookup. And J Love, for the benefit of the listening audience, Mr. and Mrs. America, all the ships at sea, in order to give you an opportunity to record all that information in a somewhat of a cappella, a mute fashion today, excuse me for 30 seconds or so while I do the boogaloo. Reverend Tia, you know this for you. J Love, all the rest of y'all out there, Pulp Fiction, Batman. Coming into the home stretch now, y'all. Okay, J Love, I think that ought to be enough time for us to record that information.
Okay.
Love, I'm going to tell you this right now.
Yes.
Silence. All Black people, all people everywhere, good nature. Silence. Listen, if you don't want to win, don't come in. You've tried to rest. Now come to the best. Now you have a choice. Come on inside to victory or stay outside in the cold waiting for government cheese and legal constipation. The choice is yours. The choice is yours. And J Love, for all these haters, all you people writing J Love, trying to contact J Love, telling her, kick him off the show. He ain't no good, J Love. He unpredictable. No, J Love, you can't trust him. He don't know what he's talking about. He's dangerous. For all you haters, I'm going to tell you all in the words of my late cousin Bernie, I ain't scared of none of y'all. So understand that right now. I ain't scared of none of y'all. So you see what I'm saying? This is what I'm telling you right now. And J Love, I'm going to tell you this right now. If people ask you, J Love, with that crazy lawyer on there, did he really endorse all that craziness he just talking? Yes, this is all you haters. You damn straight I endorsed it. This endorsement brought to you by attorney Hugo J. Mack Esquire, Dr. Hugo J. Mack Esquire, I might add, the one true king of Russia, Scotland, and Harlem. And J Love, with that, all I have to say, I love you.
I love you too, Attorney Mack. Thank you. What a great introduction. They don't know, now they know. Okay. So, Attorney Mack, I'll be looking forward to that in the beginning because it gets so serious afterwards. You know,
absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Amen.
Right. Gotta have a balance.
Amen.
So Reverend T and Attorney Mack, I remember when we came on here almost 3 years ago. And to talk about wrongful convictions, right? Yeah. And I think our first show was on Wrongful Conviction Day. And so and because of that, we just continued on. And I remember we did in the beginning a lot of different shows, and we were breaking down all the facts and of things that can happen that would lead to a wrongful conviction. And one of the things was eyewitness misidentification. Like,
That's right. That's right. Mm-hmm.
it's like one of the top reasons why innocent people go to prison. An
Mm-hmm.
eyewitness said it wrong, or somebody picked the wrong person, right? So today I'm going to bring on our guest. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about his journey, and we're going to get in deep, because what I want to drive home today is I want people to know that this wrongful convictions can happen to anybody. And they're happening every day, and they're happening all across the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And and for some reason, a lot of times we look at the numbers that people gives us, 2%. They're trying to say 2%, but I truly feel, because of all these things that's going on, that there are so many more than 2% of the people that are in prison are innocent. Now, we're not saying that people don't do things or don't commit crime, but we're talking about people who haven't did anything and they're in prison. And so that's what we're going to talk about. I want to bring on our guest who was in prison for 35 years for something he didn't do, that
Wow.
just recently came home in April, who was here with us last week, Mr. Dwayne Brooks. Greetings, Dwayne.
Hi, everybody.
Amen. Amen, brother.
Hello.
Love.
How are you?
Love.
How are you today, Dwayne?
Oh, I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful.
I'm so glad to
Getting back
see
to
you.
life.
To see you. I remember when I first heard about you, Lisa Riley, who I connected with on different platforms. She was talking to you, and she was telling people about your story, and I was so intrigued about it. She was working very hard to advocate for you and then your sister, and then Mr. James Jones and other people that I met along this journey, who were all advocating for you. And I'm just like, so when they was announcing that you were coming home, I was just like, oh my God, finally. And so I was so honored that you're on our platform and that you're here with us to tell the story, because I really want people to understand that this can happen to anybody. It's just not, um, it happened to women, it happens to mothers, it happens to men, black men, grandfathers, uncles. Anybody could be a person, an innocent person, and in prison.
Yes, in fact, J Love, it can happen to anybody, and it happened to me. I mean, literally didn't have anything to do with it, wasn't there. Um, I mean, no correlation, no connection, and they put me in prison. They had me facing the death penalty with no evidence. Because anytime there's a wrongful conviction, they have no evidence.
Mm-hmm.
People need to understand that. Anytime there's a wrongful conviction, somebody's exonerated, they had no evidence from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have to realize that other things come into play. And those other things are that these prosecutors around this country are breaking the law, knowingly breaking the law to obtain these wrongful convictions.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't have any evidence against a person and you're taking them to trial, facing whatever they're facing, up to the death penalty, like I was facing, you have no evidence. So now what they're doing is they're going outside the law, they're bending the law, they're breaking the law to try to convince 12 minds that this person who was absolutely innocent did this crime.
Right.
So as we spoke about before, it's the government, United States versus, or the state, Michigan versus, or Ohio versus, or New York versus you,
Mm-hmm.
J Love, Miss Tia Littlejohn Taylor, Hugo Mack, the state, the government, and all its resources. versus you.
Right.
And in my case, versus me.
That's right. That's right.
So, you know,
That
people.
means when you say, and right there at this point, when you say this, the state, like the state of Michigan versus you and their resources,
All their resources.
all of their resources, that means every department, every doctor, every investigator, everything that they got versus you.
Versus you. Versus you.
That's a hard.
Right. And if I might interject, and their connections to the federal government. So you see, the state is an entity of the nation. And I'm telling you, in my experience with prosecutors, you know, and police, they've got profilers they have access to, Federal Bureau of Investigation records,
Yes.
you know, all manner of, you know, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, all right, it's got the most sophisticated laboratory crime mechanism fighting mechanisms, trillions of American dollars gone. I don't mean to interrupt the brother, but I want y'all to know, and I'm sure he agrees with this. It's the state and their cohorts in the federal government that, you know, and they will bring that down against you like a laser beam, you know, seen it thousands of times. The man speaks the truth. He speaks the truth.
So when people say, you know, you must have did something, innocent people don't go to prison. We want you to know that your little self against this big
That's right.
system
That's right.
doesn't have a chance.
That's right.
That's why the plea deal trap.
That's right.
It's such a big thing.
That's right.
Okay, Dwayne, go on. I just want to drive that home because we've been talking about this, but I really want people to understand how it can happen to you. It can happen to you. Okay, Dwayne.
Yes, I mean, that 2% that you just quoted, yeah, you're right. It's higher than that, because just out of the county that I got convicted in alone, they have had over 50 exonerations, and they're not even the biggest county in that state. And on top of that, they got more exonerations, wrongful convictions than all the other counties in the state combined. And nobody's raising an eyebrow. The Department of Justice hasn't launched an investigation. You know, so as Mack said, they're all in cahoots together. They know, they absolutely know what each other are doing. And they aid each other and help each other in it. You know, and as Mr. Mack said, you know, they brought in federal agents at my trial to testify to statements that weren't statements. They had no signed statements from anybody, but they just came in and testified that, well, yeah, conferring to my notes, I think that such and such said this. These are federal agents on the stand in front of the jury, lying to make it seem like I had done something. Quoting somebody saying that they think that somebody said, or from their notes somebody said, with no signed statements. Nobody, see, people don't have to understand. Nobody that got on the stand at my trial said that I committed a crime, except the one person who was the prosecution's star witness, where now we know that the evidence is out. We didn't know then that all the evidence that they really had pointed to him. Nobody testified that I committed a crime, that I did anything wrong, that they seen me, that I was there, except him. So the prosecutor, knowing that he didn't have any evidence, resorted to telling the jury from his own mouth, with no evidence or nobody to get on the stand and testify to it, telling the jury lies about me.
Mm-hmm.
To paint a picture. And I understood then, I heard the term, my whole life coming up as a child, that, that term framed. I understood the term then. I was being framed. They had a picture on the wall, blank canvas, and they painted me in it.
Right.
And
So, okay. Go ahead, Dwayne.
and had the evidence that I didn't do it from the very beginning, which nobody knew, to 33 and a half years later when we found it. But nobody knew that they had this evidence and that hid it and withheld it or suppressed it or whatever the term is, but knowingly did it. So they knowingly broke the law, because the law had been in effect since 1963 from the United States Supreme Court, Maryland versus Brady. Had been in effect since 1963. So at that time, that was 25 years. So they absolutely knew they were breaking the law by withholding this evidence.
Mm-hmm. And see, another thing with wrongful convictions, when the prosecutor decides that you're the person, it doesn't matter if anything else come up. They're going to build that case all on you. Um,
All the evidence they had pointed to his star witness and other people. Mm-hmm. They completely ignored that and changed the narrative to make it seem like it was me.
Right. So, Dwayne, what year are we talking about?
I was incarcerated in 1988.
So before your incarceration, what were you doing? Who was Dwayne before all of this happened?
I was a young man, trying to find my way in this world. I worked a job since I was 15. I consciously decided to work, and I worked a job since I was 15, one job or another, until I was incarcerated. Mm-hmm. And I had some talents, they didn't come to fruition, so I don't really speak on them. But, I was pursuing some things, in entertainment, and I was a gifted boxer. And if you look at the first fight with Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier, the referee in that fight was my trainer, Arthur McCanty. And he was pushing me to turn pro, and, I was just trying to find my way. I was a young man, young black man, but I wasn't a criminal. I wasn't in the streets. I'm not from Bed-Stuy. I'm not from Harlem. I'm not from any of the areas that, have stereotypes tagged to them. I'm from Long Island, New York, Uniondale, where we had two pro teams, the New York Nets and New York Islanders. We had a military installation, a Division I college, mostly white, middle class, wasn't a criminal. Went to good schools, got a pretty good education because I was going to predominantly white schools. So they can do this to anybody. Mm-hmm. They took a speeding ticket that I got back in 1987 and made it seem like I was Jeffrey Dahmer for having a speeding ticket. He was 25 miles over the limit because they had no evidence.
Yeah, Dwayne, it's important. I'm glad you said all this, because a lot of times people believe that because they grow up in a certain area, because around a certain people and maybe predominantly white area, that exempts them from wrongful convictions, that it means that they're safe. And this is what we want people to wake up to, is that this is not a safety net. And I believe that through history, African Americans have often run outside of the culture in order to find some quote unquote safety measure to ensure their success. And for some people, it is a facade until something happens. And then they realize, oh, you treat me like everybody else. Or what I hear people say sometimes, oh, I'm not like other Black people. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
What does that
And that
mean?
shows the ignorance, that's within the community. And so I'm so glad that you said that, because people have to wake up and understand that, this can happen to everyone. We have to safeguard our children, listen to the young men and the young women, and really be in their corner, and then vote, participate in a process that is not really for us.
Yeah.
Unless we participate in it.
And
unless we do something.
Yeah. Can I just add in something on that, J Love?
Go ahead, Attorney Mack.
So true, Reverend Tia and good brother. But another aspect of that is, in trying to get to that safety net, thinking that we're safe here, even to me, even more invidious aspect of that is in not only being in that safety net, but actually adopting the attitudes of people in that safety net. I don't know if it was Malcolm that I heard talk, or one time, he talked about the difference between crows and bluebirds. Somebody was saying crows and bluebirds, okay? Now, I'm saying a crow may not like the neighborhood they live in, okay? Up in some old pine tree or whatever, a bunch of crows, overcrowded, nests everywhere, okay? Ain't no food source. And that crow might go to another tree, a maple tree, and say, now I'm safe here because, first of all, there aren't any other crows here but me, and there's a bunch of bluebirds here, and it's a better tree, okay? Now, the problem with that is not just in a crow not realizing he's got big crow feet, he got a big crow bill, he got long black crow feathers, and he's much bigger than a bluebird. See, so there's no way that crow, despite what he may think, is going to blend in with them bluebirds. It's not going to happen. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, but even a more invidious part in nature is when that crow starts identifying as a bluebird. Identifying bluebird. And therefore will look at other crows and say, you ain't nothing but a dirty black crow with that dirty black bill and them dirty black feathers and them dirty big ass crow feet. And then be the spokesman for the bluebirds to criticize other crows and put them down. Thereby saying it's not the bluebirds saying it, it's one of the more dirty crows saying it about themselves. It must be true. Okay? It must be true. So, you've heard Dr. Mack's version of Animal Farm right now, okay? You just heard that. So the problem is, for all you people out there, all the people that are crows, okay, don't be ashamed of being a crow. A crow is a noble, beautiful bird. The Navy used the crow to symbolize who they are. A beautiful bird. Stop trying to be a bluebird. You do not fit in. The only way you can talk to the bluebird is as a strong crow. You understand? As a strong crow in your crow community, and then you can mix and deal with respect. You will never talk with a bluebird as long as you continue to think you're a bluebird yourself. So that's it. And Jay Love, the hate mail, will come in, but I don't give a damn. So,
I'm like, what an analogy. That's a good one. There was a question in the feed, Dwayne, and Sandra said, were you linked to any white women? Sometimes that's why you're framed.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, wow. Never thought about that angle. When we moved to Ohio, we moved to an affluent area. Matter of fact, it was a more affluent area than I came from, Shaker Heights, Ohio. And I did have, some relations with white girls, but I can't see how that ties into it. But who knows, man? Who knows? Because they look at young black men, and especially the ones that they see, because they can tell. They in their minds they're dealing with animals, but they can tell when they're dealing with a different type of animal. Mm-hmm. They see the potential in you, even if you don't see it in yourself. You know, they seen the potential in the brother that the Reverend keeps quoting. I mean, the attorney Mack keeps quoting, Malcolm X. They seen his potential. They seen the potential in even some rappers like, you know, Tupac. He started talking about getting our own political party and this, that, and the third. And next thing you know, he's dead. So they know, you know, even though they look at us as animals, they know when they're dealing with a different type of animal. And when they get the suspicion that you are a noble person, they don't like it.
Right.
When they get the suspicion that you are not assimilating to being a nigger, they don't like it. And they will come at you from every angle. If you're even articulate, they don't like an articulate black person. Now, how is somebody offended by somebody being articulate? But this is the syndrome. This is the mind state of who we're dealing with. So they seen in me that they were dealing with a different type of animal, and it wasn't personal. Now I know that. I thought it was personal for a whole lot of years, but it wasn't personal. It's just what they do. It's just ingrained in their system. And, you know, when they come across any black person, period, that they can incarcerate, they're going to incarcerate you by all means.
Exactly. And you're right. I was just reading through the feed, and Sandra was saying, the one who asked the question, that's why Rodney Reed was framed and many more because of white women. And then there's Karen Winston. She was talking about her brother being wrongfully convicted, wrongly arrested based off a witness, sole witness who was a crackhead. And she goes on to say that he never had a trial. He was released after 3 years because the person disappeared, the witness.
Yeah, it's after 3 years of being incarcerated, you know, your whole life could be destroyed.
Yeah, and basically that's what she said.
You know, it's like 3 years is a long time. You know, people don't look at it as a long time, but it is. You know, in those 3 years, that man, whatever he was doing, he might have had a job. The job wasn't there no more. The stigma was on him that, you know, he was accused of whatever it was that he was accused of. And on top of that, he's a man of color. He's black, as they call us. You know, so how many strikes do we get? So now, you know, especially if you're in a small town and everybody knows everybody, he probably can never get a job in his hometown again.
That's right.
Yeah.
So on top of the humiliation and degradation that he dealt with being incarcerated in whatever holding facility he was in for 3 years, now he's back out. And I don't know who this guy is I'm talking about, but I'm just saying in general, this is what happens. Now he's back out and he's stigmatized, and he's probably having all kind of mental issues, emotional issues, because, you know, he was a man of a certain standing before this happened to him. And it's not easy for a lot of people that come out of those situations to get back to life.
Exactly.
You know, and you know, J-Lo, can I just say something?
Yeah.
You know, I have a background in scouting, you know, old Eagle Scout. Okay, I'm proud of that. One of the things in scouting we do is understand things about nature, which is why I segue that thing about the crows and the bluebirds, okay? Because there's not one of us that have not looked up in the sky and see a bunch of bluebirds chasing a crow. Why? Because they really don't want them in their neighborhood around their kids. So if you ever, anytime you ever see a big bird in the sky and a whole bunch of small birds diving at the bird trying to get away, it's because they saying, get out our neighborhood. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And so either when your utility is used up, either you will leave voluntarily or you will be forced out. Okay. Mm-hmm. Or you will be forced out. So one of the things, that in my younger life and studied is the treatment of elephants. I used to go to the circus and see, the elephants being, with the people riding on them and all that kind of stuff. To its credit, the Detroit Zoo doesn't have elephants anymore because it's inhumane, by the way. But in any event, I remember seeing and hearing about this elephant. They had these programs to try to liberate these elephants, to try to reintegrate them back into the wild. And what was so sad, they showed an elephant that had its leg chained up like a chain to a big spike in the ground. Mm-hmm. And so the elephant can only move a certain distance. Do you know when they removed the chain off that elephant still refused to move? It still refused to move, even though they were trying to prod it and push it, because that elephant had been programmed so much, that chain, even though it physically wasn't on that elephant anymore, it refused to move past that boundary. It refused to move. And so when I hear the brother talk about the way that stigma comes in, it is. And he knows from his penitentiary experience, and I know from mine. That's a hell of a mojo to come out of, man. That's a hell of a mojo to come out of. And the thing of it is that people can try to say how strong they are and, I'm this and I'm that. Well, good. But I'm telling you right now, I'm not ashamed to say I cried in the penitentiary. I'm not ashamed to say that, in the solitude of my cell and my pillow dealing with mental health issues. And so anybody to tell you they come out the penitentiary not showing mental health issues, they're delusional. They are delusional. They are delusional. Nobody comes out of that system scar-free. The only question is, what can you do to overcome that scar? And some of us, I'm going to tell you, I'm just very transparent. From my penitentiary experience, there are still times when I'm out in the street and I'm looking at the clock. Why? Why? Because I'm thinking of count time.
Wow.
The brother knows what I'm talking about. I'm thinking of count time, and I got to even remind myself, lo, these many years later, you don't have to account to them, but that those officers, that siren, that emergency count, that be on your bunk, no, you ain't got permission to go to the bathroom. I still live with that. I do.
And that's a real thing right there. They deny you the right to go to the bathroom.
That's right.
And, people have, peed on themselves, peed in garbage cans, peed in cups, peed in whatever they could,
That's right.
They're telling you you cannot go to the bathroom until they're finished with their count.
That's right. That's right.
So you got people that's in authority over you that can't go by and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, up to maybe 100 and something. They can't even get a good count up to 100 and something. Mm-hmm. But they looking at you and treating you like you're an animal.
That's right. That's right.
Really. And it's like some of it is subtle, but some of it is really overt. Mm-hmm. And some of it you got to pay attention to, but some of it is so overt that you can't miss it.
Mm-hmm. I just want to say, people look at, you're so strong, like that's a badge of honor to be in this position. And that's not what it is. That's how you have to survive. It's not, a badge of honor to go through all of this and then come back and say, oh, you were so strong. No, I shouldn't have been in that position in the first place.
That's right.
So
That's right.
We have to look at, there was a situation and a circumstance and people that put me in this situation. and I don't want to be held as honored because I went through it. I want accountability. That's what we should all want, accountability.
Yes, indeed.
Because once we get accountability, then we can stop this cycle. We'll have people who care about justice and care about, be concerned about people and not about their careers or their next move or being a celebrity or on the news or, get awards because people get awards for this stuff too.
Oh, no doubt.
Get
They got
awards and all
you got
kinds of
ratings.
accolades.
They
Yeah.
rate the prosecutors.
Right.
They got them on the internet where they rate their conviction rates.
Mhm.
Some of them have 92% conviction rate. Some of them have 97% conviction rate. How's that possible in a
Right.
fair system?
Right.
That's impossible in a fair system.
Exactly right. That is exactly right. And let me just chime in on this here, please. Well, the brother speaks the truth, because in the state of Michigan, you have a constitutional right to appeal if you're convicted like of a felony or even a misdemeanor. You have a right to appeal to a higher court. Why in the world would there be a right to appeal if the system was damn near pure as ivory snow? Okay.
Right.
Why would there be an automatic? See, it's two kinds of appeals: an automatic right to appeal and what's known as a leave to appeal. Okay, where you've got to get permission from the court. In the state of Michigan, let's say a person is convicted of a B&E or something like that. You have an automatic constitutional right to appeal. They cannot deny you the appeal. Now, they may deny what you want on the appeal, but they cannot deny you getting your issue in front of the Court of Appeals. And so as we all know, the trial courts in Michigan for felonies, is a circuit court, the Court of Appeals, and the Michigan Supreme Court. But in New York, the Supreme Court is the initial trial court. You see what I'm saying? So, so the name can be kind of confusing with some of these jurisdictions. But when this brother here talks about what happens to people when they get caught up in that system, that is exactly right. Because I'm telling you, once you get past that trial level, you become a number and a stat. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. The appellate courts won't even see your face. They won't even see your face. They'll read some argument that your lawyer writes. And by the way, if the system is 97, 98% correct, what about the overly convicted? Okay, the overly convicted. You got to consider them. People that may have done something, but they damn sure didn't do what they was convicted of. Okay, they're victims also. Okay, see, and so when you've got a system like that, if they say, well, it's 97% accurate, even if it is, I have yet to have one of my conservative brothers and sisters say they'd be willing to put themselves, their family member, in that 2%.
Mm-hmm.
See. So the next time somebody runs that BS on me about it's 97%, 95% fair, well, then put your behind that 5%. Okay.
Well, let me comment on that. And you're correct, but I'm just going to expound on it. The way that I don't know what to call them. I don't want to, offend anybody, but the way that white people look at it is, if you're overly convicted, but you had a jaywalking ticket, you might as well be guilty anyway. There's no compassion, and I'm saying there are people that don't subscribe to that rule, but the majority, we're talking about the majority here. There's no compassion for people of color. They look at us as criminals anyway. So if you were overcharged and ended up being convicted of something that you actually didn't do, but you may have done something else, that's good enough for them. They don't even want to hear that, I actually didn't do that, but you did that. So it's like Trayvon Martin.
Mm-hmm.
It was all right for that white man to kill him because they said he had smoked a joint before.
Right.
And you sit there and you hear this stuff and you are like, am I actually hearing this?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He got caught with a joint in the past, so it was all right for that white man to kill him,
Mm-hmm.
to track him down and kill him. You look at the officer Chauvin or whatever his name is that murdered George Floyd on camera. And I've heard guards, COs, correction officers say that Chauvin didn't kill him. They're watching the same tape we're watching. The whole 9 minutes and however many seconds tape, they're watching the same tape that we're watching, and they in their view of things, he didn't kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Then I've heard some of them say, because they talk around us like, we're farm animals, like we don't understand English and we can't repeat anything they're saying. They talk, in front of us like, oh, they're just chickens in the hen house, So I heard another one saying that, oh, he would have died anyway that day. He had drugs in his system. And in their minds, they justify and make it all right for that white man to kill that man like that. And these are the conversations. These are the conversations that we can't have with white people. They don't want to have these conversations. How do you look at this and see that this was all right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? The thing is, it's so important you said that, Dwayne, because they don't want to have the conversations. And yet, Jay and I was talking about this a couple of weeks ago. Yet, when you go in other countries that are making headway as far as discrimination and discriminatory practices are concerned, they are making changes. They're making changes in the penal system. They're making changes when it comes to prison. They're making some changes. And so I think one day we'll probably start highlighting some of these changes so people can see some of the answers that are happening in other countries. And the reason why they are making change is because they are having the conversations that make you feel uncomfortable.
Right.
And what people need to know, I don't care where I go, I don't care about your level of being comfortable. Okay, this is no longer an option for me. We're going to have the conversation. We're going to have the conversation. If I see it, I'm going to acknowledge it, and I'm going to tell you that you're wrong, because we're going to have the conversation. It's no longer can we allow it to just go by, or maybe they'll get it after a while. They're not going to get it after 400 years. I don't know if they are deranged. I don't know what is going on in the psyche. But if you have not realized habits of bias after 400 years toward a people, then something is mentally wrong with you. I don't even know why it's not in the DSM. There needs to be some type of medical diagnosis for a person who cannot understand when they are unethically discriminatory against a person. And so we gotta have the conversation, and you gotta make them feel uncomfortable, and don't apologize. The problem is that we have spent a long time apologizing in our conversations at schools, trying to fit in. You're not going to fit in. Every time you try to fit, I tried to fit in. I tried to fit in high school for about a week till they started throwing bagels at me on Bagel Day.
Well, listen,
I realized I wasn't going to fit in. Then I had to get up and punch somebody. Then they want to kick me out.
This is a mentality that's been like we spoke about last week. It's been handed down for generations. Somehow they got our enslaved ancestors to feel compassion for them more so than for themselves. And when Massa was sick, they say we were sick. So as Black people as a whole, I'm not saying individually, nobody on this panel individual, but I'm saying as a whole, we want to be accepted by them. Every time, I mean, it's so crazy because I would look at it for what it is. Every time a white person does something that's considered Black people love them. Love them. Buy whatever they selling. go to their movies, buy their music, whatever they selling, we love them. But it's not the same the other way around. You can get a black person singing standards, and the white people are not going to buy it. They don't go to our movies. Matter of fact, black movies with black cast don't even get released overseas. The only movie that with a black cast that ever got released overseas was the Black Panther, and that was because it was a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
So the mentality is that we love them as a whole. Black people as a whole, we love white people. Love them. Want to be accepted. They can dog us for their whole life, be on their deathbed, and show one little snippet of compassion. And black people, oh, I forgive you. We love them. Black people are the most patriotic people in this country. We are the most patriotic people in this country. This country has dogged us for hundreds of years, and we still love this country, and we still love white people. In the county that I got convicted of, that county has been ran by 5 families for over 50 years. They're all intermingled. They're in the courts. They're in the appellate courts. They got the commissioner's office. They got all the contracts for construction. They got everything tied down. My judge right now, they're probably calling him a nigger lover because he has some integrity and some honor, which his profession he's supposed to have.
Mm-hmm.
These are the type of men that we should be promoting to higher office. Not the ones with the 97% conviction rates. This man stood against 50 years of corruption and said, I got to do the right thing in this case. Let me go. Not only let me go, let me come back home to New York. This man has integrity. This man has honor. And I would put the house on it if I was a gambler, that he's catching all kind of flack from his family, from the other families that been in control for all of those years, all of those decades. And I knew this is what it took so long for him to let me go, because they were pressuring him. Please don't do it. This Negro here, he's something different.
We talked about this the other day, Dwayne, that they rather see an innocent person, or they're let an innocent person stay in prison before they say, hey, I made a mistake.
Made a mistake. They won't say it.
They're not going to say it.
They won't say
You're not going to get an apology. You're going to get some offbeat thing that said, hey, blah, blah, blah. And because of this, they're not going to admit that they did an injustice, or, I'm sorry. The person who does that, that's the person that we need to be looking at.
Yeah. Those are the people.
Yeah. These people that just, how they, what is that? Without innocence, or with innocence, without prejudice, or whatever, Attorney Mack.
Yeah. You're talking about a dismissal without prejudice, prejudice, which means they can
bring it back up at any time. And look, excuse me. I'm so glad we're having this discussion. Excuse me, I'm sorry. When we heard what this brother said on this podcast over the last 3 or some years, have you ever heard anybody say that black people are the most patriotic of blind people in the country? Have you ever heard anybody on this podcast say that before? Yeah. Well, actually they have. It's right. So to hear that from another man who has suffered injustice, not that y'all didn't believe me, but I'm saying is right. We are the most obliging, patriotic people in the history of mankind, the African American, and like the brother was talking about Malcolm,
I've been a student of Malcolm for quite some time, you know, and the conversation about the house Negro and the field Negro, you know what I'm saying? And so when the brothers say, when masters say, we say, is we sick, boss? Is we sick? Is we sick? And Malcolm would talk about if the master's house caught on fire, the house Negro would fight to put the fire out more than the master would. He said, but the field Negro, while the house Negro was trying to put the fire out, the field Negro was hoping for a strong breeze. So what I'm saying is, when I hear this brother speak, and y'all speak, it's so enlightening and energizing my spirit, because I see there are folks out there. Y'all get it. You see it for what it is, you know? And I guess for me, one of the things that hurts me is how much self-hate I see in my own community.
Yes.
How much self-hate. And what the man said is true. And I'm not disparaging anybody. If somebody's talented, that's wonderful. You know, Tom Jones, Eminem, Justin Bieber, Vanilla Ice, on and on, Sonny and Cher.
Michael Jackson, Madonna, we love him.
Yeah, on and on. And you know what? And I'm not downing love. Please don't misunderstand me. But love that is one way is not love. It's worship. Okay, it's worship. And so what I'm saying is, hey, you know what? I kind of like that. Hey, you know what? I'm gonna write that down. I like that.
I'm gonna name
I
one.
wrote it down for you. I wrote it. I got you, Attorney Mack. I got you already.
Okay, so,
Look, I got one.
okay.
Bill Clinton.
Yeah. Oh, the first
Bill
black
Clinton.
president. The first
Right.
black president. That's
He
right.
was playing that saxophone and writing the crime bill. And,
Right, the crime bill that's still in effect today. He signed into law that the states, if they would keep the prison beds 92% occupied and keep the parole rates low, they could get grant money in the form of grants. So this grant money is still being given to the states today. The money goes to the governors of each state first, and then it trickles down to whoever else that palms is getting greased.
That's right.
Bill Clinton.
You know, and
Bill Clinton.
and so there's no question as to Democrats having a dirty finger in this pie also. I mean, there's and the thing of it is, our job is to call it out, whatever the party is, okay? But, you know, when I see a man who was a former president of the United States, disgracefully, wearing a MAGA hat, you know, and going around talking about MAGA, to me, when I see him wearing that MAGA hat, all that means is my ass got arrested. And so for me, that's what I feel should be in that man's future. And it's not about prejudging people. It's about a history of wrong and blatant wrong. And so whether it's a Democrat, Republican, Independent, I don't care. When the wrong is there, we have a duty to discharge the exposure of that wrong. And J Love, what you said is so right. These people will not admit they're wrong, even with qualified immunity. Even with qualified immunity that protects them anyway. Anyway, as long as they can try to say, I was doing my job, I had the authority to do it, it was not malicious, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. J Love,
et cetera.
Yeah, right.
Blah, 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 wonk, wonk, wonk.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Charlie Brown, when the adults are talking to them kids. Whatever that is. So yeah. So you know what? When I hear this brother, you know, speak about that whole situation and that judge, you know what? I pray for him. I don't even know what his name is, but
I pray for him. I pray that they don't kill him.
That's right. See,
because I know they hating him right now.
That's right.
That man is the only man in that whole county with some integrity that I know of.
Yeah. So no,
you know, and it's like, this is why I took the initiative to be an open book. So can't nobody control my narrative. Exactly. It's out there already.
Exactly.
If I can tell the truth on myself, I can tell the truth about anybody.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, even with these presidents, you know, Clinton, he the first black president, and now then we had Obama. He was actually the second black president, And it's crazy because people defend Obama, tooth and nail. Tooth and nail. They defend him. This man he couldn't get nothing done because of this. He couldn't get. Obama had the House, the Senate, and the Attorney General his first term, and didn't do nothing. He didn't do nothing. And then his second term, he lost the House or the Senate, and he blamed everything on that.
Mm-hmm.
When they talk about Obamacare, this is his greatest achievement. Come on, man. And you're supposed to be the first black president?
And you know what, brother?
Do anything to correct anything that's been going on in this country for all these hundreds of years against black people? And you had the House and the Senate and a black attorney general your first term?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Come on, man. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real.
And along that line, brother, in the state of Michigan right now, as you know, everybody, for the first time in like 40 years, Democrats have run the table in the Senate and the House, the governorship, the attorney general, secretary of state too, by the way. Okay. All Democrats. Not razor thin margins, but I'm going to say it again. In the first 100 days, the Democrats brag about everything they've done, and they've done some great things. Now, don't get me wrong. They eliminated right to work, which was a plague on the state of Michigan for 12 years, which actually is the right not to work. Okay. How dare you say you can be in a union shop with union members that are bargaining for benefits for everybody, but you ain't got to be no union member and you ain't got to pay no type of dues. What is wrong with you?
Union representation.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Union representation and everything, but you don't have to pay union dues.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Which was a direct attack on unions, by the way, which going to be Democrats. But anyway, my point is, along with that brother is saying, they passed, eliminating right to work laws. In November, they had a constitutional amendment to the state constitution enshrining a woman's right to choose. And I'm going to say it again. That Dodd decision came down in like June, maybe a year ago today, or a year ago in June. We had that election in November. You know, it takes time to get something in front of the people to get enough signatures in the state of Michigan to put something on a ballot. And I'm saying they only had about 2 months, maybe 2.5 months to get that issue on the ballot. They had the political will, had more signatures than any other referendum, constitutional amendment in the history of the state, putting that issue on the ballot for constitutional amendment. So, well, what's your point, Attorney Mack? The point is they can do what they want to do when they want to do it.
Without a doubt.
Just like I'm talking about right now. You all know I fought tooth and nail, y'all did too, to try to get good time, disciplinary credit restored, in the state of Michigan. The legislature took that away. You know that, so mandatory sentencing, they took all that away, imposed all that. Couldn't get a fraction of the signatures necessary to do it. Why? Because some of the quote unquote colleagues we have out there, some people who don't necessarily look like us, and some who do, said that's not priority for us. Dealing with them people in the penitentiary is not priority for us. First of all, they don't vote. Okay, they can't vote, and their families don't significantly put enough. So I guess my question is, and I hope all you Democrats are listening. Hope you're listening. You got the chance right now to put in sweeping legislation. You got the chance right now to end qualified immunity. You got the chance right now to say we are restoring disciplinary credits. We're going to restore good time to people and give them hope. Give them hope and a future to look forward to. You've got the opportunity to say, if a person has a penitentiary experience, we will not let that stop them from sitting on a jury. In the state of Michigan, you cannot sit on a jury with a penitentiary experience. So let me get real personal. Y'all know my story, okay? As an attorney with a penitentiary experience, I can go into all 83 counties in the state of Michigan and pick a jury, but I'm not qualified to sit on one.
Yeah.
So
ain't that a B? Ain't that a B?
So one thing, in all of this, when we talk about good time and some other things that we want to have done, we have to, it also falls on us too, Attorney Matt.
That's right.
Because we have to support it. So the women who decided to, that they wanted their rights, right?
Yeah.
And to have an abortion or whatever it was.
Right.
They put money behind it and they put people behind it. And
yes, they did. Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
They went from the top of Michigan to the bottom of Michigan.
Yes, they did.
They was in the hood. They was everywhere.
That's right.
With those and having people sign, right?
That's right. That's right.
But when it's time for us to get on something or back something, we don't put the money in it.
That's right.
We have excuses.
That's right.
We kind of are programmed for our own demise.
Yes, indeed.
Because we are talk against it. We want to know who's leading it. And
right. That's right.
Who's this and who's, we want to have, and we can't stand behind it.
That's right.
And so, we have to, the reason why we do come here on Fridays is to have these conversations, because we have to eliminate this defeative mindset that keep us in lack and keeping us limited.
That's
and
right.
Keeping us behind. Right. And so we could put things on the ballot and get signatures too. Mm-hmm. If we got off our butts and did it. If we got up and said, hey, let's organize.
That's true.
And if we didn't have to tear down every person that said it, and, down to the ground, the leader, the person who decided that, hey,
You got to understand, J Love, that it's been ingrained in us. It's been beaten into us, to not trust each other, to not care for each other, to hate each other, to hate ourselves.
Right. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
We as a whole people, not saying you individually, but we hate ourselves. Mm-hmm. That's why we can look at another black person just walking down the street, never seen them before in life, and there's tension there. Because you're looking at a reflection of yourself and you hate yourself. So now you hate him.
That's right. That's right.
Who taught you how to hate yourself?
Right. That's right. That's right.
First thing you do to a person.
Hey, J Love, Malcolm asked it, who taught you to hate yourself? Hey, J Love, who taught you to hate the shape of your nose, the color of your skin, the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate yourself?
You big lip black this, you nappy headed that, you black such and such. It's been hundreds and hundreds of years. And when you put poison, when you put poison into a pond or a lake, and then you decide today that we ain't gonna put no more poison in it. Oh yeah, we did it for 100 years or 200 years or 300 years or 400 years. And you decide today to stop putting poison in that lake or that pond. The pond is not gonna be pure tomorrow.
Right.
It's gonna feel the residual effects of that poison for hundreds of years.
Right.
Yeah.
And this
is in our DNA. And we have to do things to change our DNA, to heal ourselves, to change the narrative, to tell our stories, to control our own story and our own narrative, not wait for somebody else to tell their story. Like what you're doing, Dwayne, you're like, I'm telling my story because I don't want anybody else to control the narrative, to control, me and what happened to me. That's power. And we have to, not, like you said, there's no quick fix, but we have to start doing the work in order generations from now. We'll have our kids and our grandkids and their kids to be able to live the life that we dream, because my ancestors dreamed the life that I'm living now. So we have to keep this going, keep
getting better and better.
Right. And we have to put our time and money and actions behind it.
And we got to teach our kids. We got to teach our kids, J Love, to quit doing things that they're ashamed of.
Right.
Quit doing shameful things. It's these people that's walking around with all these skeletons in their closet that are the most, the lowest form of scoundrels on earth, because they got these skeletons in their closet. And they want to portray that they're upstanding and they're upright, but they got these skeletons in their closet that they don't want to come out. So we got to start teaching our kids, don't do something that you're ashamed of. You know, all the time I spent in those penitentiaries, you know, I never lowered my standards. I never lowered my morals. I kept my morality. I kept my humanity. I kept my manhood, you know, when many didn't. And this is why, you know, I say I control my narrative. My narrative is out there. Nobody can change it. It's so many people that know me, you know, and know what I stood for and how I carried myself, that if somebody comes up now and tries to tell a lie on me, so many people are going to know it. He's going to be shamed.
Right.
This is why you have to live an open book.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Reverend Tia.
Absolutely. Yeah, you know, I just wanted to say that I thank you, Dwayne Brooks. Thank you for being who you are. And it is about your beingness. And we got to stop it. You know, when he was talking, I was just saying that, you know, it's who we aspire after. And looking at our children and giving them the role model should not be somebody who they can't touch and see and can't talk to them. That's not a role model. A
Right.
role model is not someone who is quote unquote famous. And people who are famous does not mean that they are thinking right. People who have money does not mean that they are morally right or that they make ethical decisions.
Yeah.
When you talk about generation after generation after generation, if you haven't, look, I used to tell my sons certain things we don't do because it's not kosher.
It ain't cool.
It's not kosher. You know, we don't do it because the king's children, we don't do that. According to our faith, we don't do that. Not according to the religion or the dogma, according to the spirituality that is within us, we don't do that. You have
Don't
a
do it.
guide on the inside of you that helps you to navigate right and wrong.
Exactly.
And so there's certain things we're not going to do. Now, I'm not saying don't do it because I told you so. I'm saying don't do it because that's what we don't do. When I say we, then they're watching mama, they're watching daddy, you know, and then they're
You
going
the
to
role
follow
model.
what you do. Yeah, and then eventually that's what happened. We became the role model. They weren't looking outside of themselves for the answers. They're not looking on TV. They're not spending money according to how everybody else is spending because they're looking at what do we have going on in our family. And you gotta behold the good in your family. I don't care how much money you have.
Right.
When I was growing up, it wasn't about the amount of money as much as it was the standard. Because like I tell people all the time, you were not going to eat at Mary Wallace's, my grandmother's table, if you did not do right in the community.
Now, Miss Tia Littlejohn Taylor, I got to come in on that. Listen, beautifully. Now, but I'm going to expound on that. See, it ain't just what you do when people are watching you. It's what you do when you know ain't nobody watching you. That's where your honor comes in at. If you doing the right thing when you know ain't nobody watching you, that's honor.
Absolutely.
You got all these people that get out in front of the cameras or get out in front of, you know, a bunch of eyes, and they want to, you know, portray like they're doing the right thing. But it ain't what you're doing when everybody's watching. It's what you're doing when ain't nobody watching.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Right. It's about the humanity in you at all times,
At all times.
showing up as, your authentic human self with kindness and compassion for each other. Not, but then again, you got to take it back. If you loving yourself, these things are automatic. When you loving yourself, you're kind. You have compassion because you can't love anybody else if you don't love yourself.
That's right. And that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
And
it goes back to you.
That's what I'm talking about. If you don't really love yourself, it's like with me. Like, I wonder for a long time why certain people didn't like me. I had never done anything to them. We never had any bad words or any, bad situations, but they didn't like me. And it took me to 20, 30 years to finally realize, like, wow, they don't like me because they're not like me. And every time it proved to be that these people that didn't like me, they had those skeletons in their closet.
Mm-hmm.
And they knew what I didn't. They were messing around with, each other, men messing with men, and they know I didn't. They were drug addicts. They were rapists. They were pedophiles. All of this stuff, they could see that I don't do that. So they automatically take a dislike to you because you're not like them. Misery loves company.
Yes.
That saying is true. A crackhead wants everybody to be a crackhead.
Right.
That way he don't have to have no conscience. So this is what's going on, in this world today. People don't like each other because they got some character flaws, I'll phrase it as, that you might not have.
Right. And then Dwayne, you're having this experience and you're innocent.
And the whole time I'm like, it's crazy. And when that show came on a few years back, however many years back, I said, that's me, the undercover boss. I ain't supposed to be in here. So now I'm just watching everything that's going on so I can get out here and report it.
Right.
The way that they do people, that parole board is terrible. Terrible. I should have been home almost 20 years ago. My sentence was served. I balled out. I was what they call a model citizen, and because I wouldn't admit that I did something that I didn't do, they kept giving me time. And if they had let me go at any one of those 4 parole board hearings that I appeared in front of them, they gave me 10 years the first time, 4 years the second time, 5 years the third time, and 5 years the last time in 2020. If they had to release me at any one of those times, like they were supposed to do, this evidence would have never surfaced. I would have never found it. So this goes back to what the panel was saying earlier about, when the brother spoke about Joseph, it's all in God's time. Allah is the best. The man plans a plan, and Allah is the best of planners. God, the Creator, the Almighty.
That's right.
So what they did to me, I gotta make them pay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the way I can make them pay, by getting out here in the community, making people aware, and by getting these young kids while they're young and pointing them in the right direction, and letting people know that there's help out there for them.
Right.
And that's my mission.
Right.
And it ain't gonna stop.
Way. Yes. Exactly. This is how you make them pay. You change the mindset of other people.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be in this system because you have so many other choices.
Right.
You don't have to believe what they say, because you're not doing good in 3rd grade, you automatically going to be, in prison.
That's right.
You're going to be, we can change these narratives, but we have to change how we ourselves look at each other and how we talk to each other and feel even about our own selves.
About our own selves.
That's right.
So what, Reverend Tia?
I was saying, that's right, girl. You know what? I am so just blessed and elated that we were able to have this conversation today.
That's right.
Because we got to keep shining the light. Got to keep shining the light on the wrongly convicted. And I love how, Dwayne, you reframed it while you were serving your time. Mm-hmm. You were able to reframe it and look at it in a way of purpose. And that I'm here for a purpose, and that when I get out, it's on. It's on. And I'm so glad that you held firm to your statement, because many people just go ahead and they go before the parole board and they want to get out so bad, and they go ahead and say, I did it, or to try to appease them. And there's another brother that I know who's still in because of that same thing. And he has not gotten out. And yes, he has already served those 20 some odd years. And people need to know the truth about how extra time gets 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 added to a sentence, and why it takes so long for a person to come out.
Yeah.
This is the truth. And this is what people need to understand. This is why we have to be out here. This is why not only do we have to speak about it, but we got to go vote. We got to go after the prosecutors that what are motivated so zealously, they say, to win a conviction by any means, and that their conduct, it says that in one of the articles, it said their conduct is such that intentionally or carelessly they undermine the integrity of all the fact-finding processes, so
That's
that
right.
the prosecutor inescapably will bring about a conviction of a defendant who is actually innocent. That means they take whatever means necessary so they can win.
Yes,
You know, I don't
indeed.
know if you've ever played Monopoly with somebody. I used to play Monopoly with my children. I have one son, the oldest. Look, the oldest by only 14 minutes because he's a twin. He loved to win so bad. For some reason, because he cheated. By the end of the game, we realized early on that he could never be the banker, because he would end up with the most properties and the most money. We didn't understand how this was happening. But by any means necessary, he was winning the game of Monopoly. And out here in this life, by any means necessary, some of these prosecutors, and along with their homies, are winning at the
Yeah.
cost of somebody else's life.
And there's no repercussions for them. They have qualified
No,
immunity, so that, you know, even though they're breaking the law, they're committing crimes. There's no repercussions.
none.
They have no repercussions at all.
That's
They
right.
have
And
qualified
see,
immunity.
yes, and that's the thing right there. That's the piece. I've been talking about that too for a minute. That qualified immunity, we have to invest our time and attention into it. I Fox 2 was talking about it the other day. Governmental immunity, same thing. You
Same thing.
know, we have to invest. You know, if these things that shooting didn't happen in Oxford, it might not even be a conversation now. But because of that,
That's true.
what happened in Oxford, and those families can't get justice.
That's right.
They're showing you, hey, there's a long line of people waiting for justice. There was one guy who's been waiting 10 years, you know, for his chance at holding somebody accountable. So when you have these prosecutors and judges and police officers and all of these government officials who can make all kinds of assumptions and errors and mistakes and be corrupt and do all kinds of craziness, and there's nobody to hold them accountable. You have Dwayne Brooks. You have Gerard. You have Adidja's son, you know, Robert Greathouse. You have Andre Nelson. You have all these people serving long prison times because there's no check and balance. Excuse me. There's no accountability. You have Devontae Sanford. You know what I'm saying? You have all these things that happen because there's nobody, and you have us who are not even holding it. We just go blindly and vote for him again, and vote for him again, and vote for him again, and the cycle continues. So we have to do. Yeah, you have Marvin Carter Jr. Yes, and so we have to. It's up to us too. We have to get back and start doing our due diligence. We can't just vote for everybody no more, you know, because they cool, because they go to our church, because you know they're we're gonna have to do our due diligence because our neighborhoods are suffering, our children are suffering, they're suffering in the schools. All these different departments of our local government are suffering when it comes to us. We're overtaxed,
Right.
underpaid,
Right.
and kids is not getting educated.
Right.
What the heck?
Over interest rated. We get the bottom of the barrel of everything. You know, we are the most abused people, like as Mr. Mack said, in in the history of humanity.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Absolutely right. That's right.
You know, and we got all these so-called black leaders. I reached out to all of them. All of them. If any one of them had just said, let me look into this, I could have been home 30 years ago.
Wow. Wow.
Because the evidence was always there.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah.
Anyone you can name, Ben Crump, Al Sharpton, all of them.
Yeah.
All the organizations, NAACP.
Yeah.
They ain't got their boots on the ground no more. They ain't for the people.
Mm-hmm.
They celebrities. They famous.
You know.
They don't care about the people. If any one of them would have just said, let me look into this man's case, I would have been home 30-something years ago. Because the evidence was always there.
Mm-hmm.
And we wasn't trying to hear it. They got their head so high in the clouds now, you know, they put on their suits and, you know, $2,000 to $3,000 suits. Yeah, they up there now. They ain't for the people. This is why we got to be for the people.
Right.
Yeah.
And keep our boots on the ground.
Exactly.
No matter how much success we have.
Right.
Yeah.
And we got to keep on talking and advocating and educating until our people wake up and say, hey, I'm with you.
Right. No, that's right.
I'm with you.
That's
I'm
right.
with you. Because if we don't, we're going to get more of the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here I am. I've been out since April 25th. So I'm up in New York. I'm right next to the biggest city in the United States. All the news organizations are up here. All the networks.
Mm-hmm. Ain't
nobody hollered at me. They know what went on.
Mm-hmm.
When that prosecutor from 1988 got on the stand in November and said that it was their practice to withhold evidence, it was the practice of the prosecutor's office to withhold evidence. And that's how it was when he came into the office in 1980, and that's how it was when he left in 1989. When he got on the stand and testified to that fact, that's the shot heard around the world. Ain't nobody never had that.
No.
Mm-hmm.
But Dwayne Brooks. And this is why I always knew it was bigger than me. I knew this was a godsend.
Right.
I told the attorney from the very beginning, I said, this is bigger than all of us.
Mm-hmm.
We just tools in it, myself included.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be back with Dwayne Brooks next week. We're going to get deeper into this conversation of wrongful convictions. Dwayne Brooks' middle name is Gerard. So he told me that. I was like, oh, wow, this is in sync. So, I'm so grateful that you here with us, Dwayne, and we're going to just keep talking about it. The wrongful, these wrongful convictions. We're going to keep on educating our community just how important it is. People need to educate their children. So that's what we try. You know how these things can happen. We have more and more kids. Just like I was reading about the 10-year-old who was trying to get to his mother, and he drove the car from Grand Rapids trying to get to Detroit to get to his mother. And he was staying with other family members, and they locked him up instead of taking him to his mother. And so they're criminalizing our kids at 10, 8-year-olds, kindergartners. They putting them in handcuffs.
Yes.
So we have to educate. There's nobody else kids in handcuffs but ours.
Mm-hmm.
We are up under so much stress in this country. I mean, there's a war going on that no black man, no black woman is safe from. No black child is safe from. They are at war against us, and we are not putting up any resistance. Yes. None. I got ready to jog down the street just the other day, and this is the traumatic stuff that's going on for black people in this country. I got ready to jog down the street the other day, and I had to think like, oh, will they think I'm running from a crime? This is the thought that went through my mind.
Yeah.
For innocently wanting to get some exercise.
Yeah.
Right.
I better not do that.
Yeah.
We're traumatized in this country.
Yes.
So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe somebody that grew up in the valley and, you know, think they're white. Tiger Woods found out he wasn't white.
Yeah. Yes,
Tiger Woods found out that them white people look at him as a nigga.
Right.
He might still want to be white. I don't know. But he found out. We all got PTSD and whatever traumatic phrases you could come up. We got it. Because we up under so much pressure in this country just being who we are.
Right.
Yes.
And can I just say this?
Yes, Attorney Mack.
You know, there's like 5 men in Memphis, Tennessee right now who really finding out they're not white. Those 5 officers charged with killing that black man. The brother earlier talked about Derek Chauvin and remind me of so many other police officers, like those ones in Atlanta that shot that man at that drive-in restaurant. Remember that? Remember that? Okay. And the GoFundMe and all the rallies to spearhead their criminal defense. Those black men down in Atlanta won't get a penny from a pauper from any of these, and I'm gonna call it the way it is, any of these white police groups to defend them. They are really seeing how black they are right now. You see, because contrary to what they thought, that blue line, you know, the blue line is talking about, they're really realizing it's not
ain't a part of it.
It's not going to protect them.
That's right.
It will not protect them.
That's right.
See, so, and you know what? I'm sorry. I'm heartbroken what happened with that man, but I'm gonna tell you this: my heartbrokenness is I'm not saying it's comforted, but it keeps my spirits up knowing that what's going to happen with them officers, and it is going to happen. They're not going to get saved. A white jury will not save them. A white jury will not save them. All right, because they're going to be made an example of. All right, they're going to be made an example of. Nigga, how dare you think you're going to be protected by us? How dare you? Now, as long as you out there busting black head, that's good. Good. Keep it up. But don't dare cross that color line, okay, and start busting white head now, nigga. Okay. And then when you get caught busting black head on tape, we're gonna fire your ass and we're gonna throw gasoline on that fire and you're gonna burn. And we're gonna use you as an example of we don't want bad cops either. Look, we didn't support them. We don't want bad. And so they, once again, a crow, thinking it's a bluebird and finding out you really a crow, and them black feathers and that black beak and them big ass crow feet will not fit in them tiny shoes and coats and hats. I'm gonna say this one last thing, J Love.
Okay.
All the black people trying to go to Southfield. Okay, remember that? Southfield was the black woman's haven. Get out of Detroit, go to Southfield. Well, guess what? There's a city called Birmingham, all right? And they letting them black folk in Southfield know, don't come up in here. see, so what I'm saying is we see a whole lot of wrong in Southfield, and one of our members, Sister Hughes, is addressing that. But I'm saying Southfield is getting blacker and blacker. And, you know, you talk about that idiot talking about building a wall. They may have to say, hey, J Love, I predict within the next 2 years, there'll be a referendum in the city of, it isn't even a state. The people in Birmingham will fund this wall themselves.
Right.
Let me say this before we go. Mm-hmm. These people have a superiority complex. Mm-hmm. And we people have an inferiority complex. Mm-hmm. To whereas even the president of the United States, if he's black, the lowest worker in the country will feel he's better than him. That Professor Gates, I think he was in Massachusetts somewhere, at his house.
That's right. Sure did.
That white officer came to his house and roughed him up.
Sure did.
Look at the inferiority that it took for a president to have that man at the White House
drinking a beer,
and have a beer with him.
Drinking a beer. Sure did.
That's how inferior we have become in our mind state. And that's how superior they feel, that a lowly cop is better than the president, the sitting president.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you, Dwayne. Thank you, Reverend Tia. Thank you, Attorney Mack. I appreciate you guys. I want you guys to turn back in with us next week, because Dwayne's going to be with us again. He's going to be with us for a while, probably.
Good.
He is part of us turning the moment into a movement. Don't forget about the love gathering, you guys. It's coming up. It's June. June is here. I think we've been talking about this love gathering since March, but it's just for everything that we've been talking about tonight. We need this. We need a space and a place to just feel love and be loved. The love gathering is happening here in Handy Park in Redford, Michigan, June the 24th. Join us for the love gathering. Bring your favorite chair. It's going to be so healing. There's going to be a lot of stuff that's going on that's going to just make your day. So just be sure to join us. We're still looking for volunteers and supporters. So if you want to be a part of it, get with me. Send me a message, inbox me, call me if you have my number. Also, donate to the Voice of Detroit. We love Miss Diane. She has been doing this online presentation of talking about the justice system in Detroit, Michigan for over 20 something, maybe 30 years. But she needs donations to keep going. So www.voiceofdetroit.net is where you can go for that and be the change. We have to be the change. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you next Friday, 6 p.m., turning a moment into a movement.
God bless y'all.